Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unlocking something pretty awesome, what we call the ninja way to financial freedom. We're going to break down the exact step-by-step mechanics of how to actually escape the rat race and achieve lasting independence. If you've ever found yourself wondering how people make that transition from just grinding it out day after day to finally living life on their own terms, well, you're definitely in the right place. We're looking at the exact blueprint right from our source material to really understand the mathematical reality of wealth. No fluff here, just the absolute core structure of how investment acts as the ultimate pathway to true financial independence.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Section 1, the reality of time.
Before we can even talk about getting wealthy, we have to look at a fundamental flaw in how most of us operate, which brings us to a really simple, but honestly incredibly urgent question from our source: can everyone work forever? Seriously, think about it. If you're ever wondering whether you really need to invest, this is the exact counter question you have to ask yourself. Because, let's be real, human beings physically cannot work forever, right? We age, we get tired, maybe we just want to retire, or life simply gets in the way. Because our physical capacity has a very strict expiration date, we desperately need some kind of financial mechanism to sustain us when that paycheck eventually stops. Bottom line, if you can't work forever, you absolutely need something else working for you.
To solve that problem, we need to clearly define our destination. So, Section 2, the ultimate goal, financial freedom. We hear that phrase tossed around all the time, right? But let's strip away all the complex financial jargon. Financial freedom is literally just a mathematical condition. It's that exact point where your baseline living costs, plus whatever lifestyle you want to maintain, are 100% covered by passive income. That's it. It's not about having $1 billion in the bank. It's simply a state of being where your basic needs and your lifestyle choices are entirely funded, without you ever needing to clock in and work for it. So, to reach that mathematical state, we enter Section 3, the core contrast, active versus passive income. We really need to build a bridge between where most of us are right now and where that formula requires us to be. And there's a pretty stark contrast in how we earn. On one side, we have active income. As the source material points out, standard office work is literally just trading your time for money. You give your boss 40 hours, they give you a paycheck. The second you stop giving them hours, the money completely stops. But then, on the other side, is passive income. This is the holy grail. This is not working, but still receiving money. To hit that financial freedom formula, we have got to migrate our lives from the active side completely over to the passive side.
But how do we actually pull that off? Well, that brings us to Section 4, the bridge to freedom, and the real process of building wealth. First off, let's clear up a massive misconception right now. True wealth building is absolutely not about flashy consumerism. It's not about constantly upgrading your car just to impress neighbors you probably don't even like. Unless your goal is to look rich while actually being completely broke, constantly changing cars just completely drains your active income. Real wealth building? It's a deliberate, almost unseen transformation process. It takes real discipline, not a showroom lifestyle.
So here is the exact transformation roadmap from our source. It's a 4-step journey. Step 1, you start with your active income. At this point, you're still trading your time for money. But step 2, now this is where the magic happens. You manage that income and you build a habit surplus. This simply means intentionally and consistently spending less than you earn. Building that habit surplus is the absolutely crucial bridge. Then, step 3, over time that surplus grows and it literally becomes your capital. And finally, step 4, you invest it. You take all that stored up energy and you put it to work. Which brings us to our final and definitely most important phase, Section 5, the mechanics of investment.
We've built up the capital, so now what exactly are we doing with it? The crucial point is summarized perfectly by our source: put money, make money. That is the absolute core of investing. You're taking the money you saved, your capital, and you're placing it into vehicles that just generate more money. At its core, guys, this is literally the only true way to get passive income. There's no magic trick here. It's just utilizing your capital as a tool to print more resources.
Let's trace this whole journey across our timeline to really put it into perspective. In Phase 1, we're basically exhausted workers, right? Just trading our precious time for a paycheck. Then, by actually managing our money, we hit Phase 2. We might not have a ton of free time because we've been working so hard, but we finally have some money saved up, that capital surplus. And that is what unlocks Phase 3. We invest. Suddenly, we transition into investors whose money does all the heavy lifting for them. The money makes the money, which means finally, we get our time back.
So I gotta ask, where are you on this timeline right now? Are you still trapped in Phase 1, constantly trading your time for money? Or have you started building that surplus habit so your money can finally start making you money? Look, the math of financial freedom is crystal clear, but crossing that bridge is entirely up to you. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I highly encourage you to take that very first step toward your own financial freedom today.